ready for game number 1. So let's jump into that now.
Opening up with the bans here, and it's a ban against Lucian. Remember, Maha is playing top lane, and Lucian can top lane into many matchups. Kingzone, you know, they're not going to be in a benevolent mood against MVP. They need to prove something to themselves and their fans, so they can't afford to be taking MVP easily with Maha in the top lane role. I imagine MVP are just going to ban away the OPs, but what does that mean for something like Swain and Shen? Because they've been joining the red side bans and trying to force blue side bans towards those prime junglers. And look at this, a Jace ban comes through, trying to provide some coverage for Maha.
You know, I was thinking about that, right? Khan could just come out and say, hey, I'm just going to play Jace and just crush this guy that obviously does not have a lot of experience in the top lane. If you don't know what you're doing against Khan's Jace, you're just going to lose. So I like the idea. Just take that away. Maha's like, thank you very much, team. Is going to leave a lot open, though, as Swain is going to get banned here on the blue side, but still Nocturne and Taliyah left available.
Nocturne, Shen, Taliyah, all left available. We saw Taliyah beat Nocturne Shen when we had Blank pull out a big performance in our last series last night. So there's the potential. That will be the trade here, even though it sounds very steep on paper. Some of those long cooldown globals haven't found the value in recent moons, and a Nivea ban does cement that fact. Kingzone, the first pick, probably going to be one of the two junglers. The Nocturne would deny Nocturne Shen, so for most teams, this will be their first pick.
Yeah, definitely puts them in an interesting spot, though. I'm seeing a bit of a trend against Nocturne compositions nowadays, where you can pick the Taliyah and then just draft Cho'Gath and a bunch of other tankiness, right? If the Nocturne is jumping into your backline and you have Cho'Gath, you have Galio, you have Shen, you have all this tankiness and no way to really one-shot someone, even the Taliyah with Zhonya's, it's not as effective as you'd like it to be.
Seems like Kingzone can take the Nocturne Shen if they want it. Gorilla has played plenty of Shen this season. When it comes to mid laners, it might just end up being Zoe versus Galio. That's the way Kingzone want to go. Galio's considered a semi-counter to the Zoe because of the damage reduction, the ability to get through laning phase. Was also a denial away for even more engage on the side of the Nocturne. So the Zoe just taken for power level mostly on the side of Kingzone. Will they take the Shen, which is available? Tahm Kench is also available, and a staple of Genji and also Kingzone. See what the decision is here. I imagine one of Tahm Kench or that Shen will be taken at this pick, but no. They're actually thinking of taking away the only champion that Motive has won on, which is the Morgana.
Oh, never mind. Last second switch to the Tahm Kench.
Take that.
You had it right first. They were just trying to trick you there at the last second pop.
They got me.
Yeah.
They got me.
Very surprised to see no Shen, though. Definitely is one of those picks. Garen is something that is being hovered here. A lot of people saying that in solo queue, it's definitely a face rolly champion in the top lane. If you want someone to play a really simple champion, maybe it's Garen for Maha. They are going to pick up the Morgana, though, as that seems better for their composition. Or no, never mind. They're just trolling us today. Ezreal going to be picked up.
These outplays are already starting in the draft, baby. We've got to definitely keep up here with MVP and Kingzone in game 1 of the day. Also, for patch information, we are still on patch 8.13 with hotfixes enabled this week. I believe we will be on 8.13 again next week because we patched quite late in Korea, I believe Wednesday morning. So when we went to 8.14, it's probably another week of 8.13 with hotfixes. From what I know, Aurelion Soul's available these days, so I must admit, I'm hoping we see some Aurelion Soul at some point, but not in this game.
Said Motive Hatting. I guess that's a really cute way to say fighting. Kingzone and Kingzone, they actually are holding the same exact sign. Bunch of Kingzone fans here tonight. I mean, it's 5 p.m. on a Sunday, and we're almost filled up here. It said there were tickets available, but it looks like nearly every seat is taken so far.
Maybe the Kingzone fans want to be front row for their team winning. Haven't felt much winning recently. Still appreciate the support. Looking for the bans here. A bit of a slow banning phase. Vladimir going to be taken away from Prey. Did play it in their victory over MVP a few series ago, so I guess I can understand it, even though I prefer to see Prey on something like the Varus. We'll see if he just considers the Varus. Varus Tahm Kench about as standard a lane as can be.
Been liking it a lot recently. A lot of new stuff being thrown in there too, with Def trying out the lethality.
Okay.
the Heimerdinger
Maha's
gets
been
banned out.
playing the Donger in solo queue in basically every role, so they decide to once again put out a flex ban. It's going to be a last pick for the top lane as far as we can see, if Motive's Alistair is locked in here.
I really want to see him just bring out the Quinn for the first time here in LCK Summer. Just new top laner, new pick in the top lane. Why not?
So what will Khan blind pick is the question I have. I want to see here. We're looking at power level. Mundo and his counters are available. You could take a Kennen. He's played AP Kennen in recent history. I'm thinking about the strongest possible laner. If you're thinking about what Maha will play as Khan, you just have to choose something that can lane against Ornn. You imagine Ornn would be the choice just because it's ultra safe for Maha, but we'll wait and see. Looking what the blind pick is going to be. He's looking for a strong laner that can have some options with the team. Another dive buddy for the Nocturne wouldn't be awful. They're going to be considering the Camille, and as we predicted, the Varus already locked in for the bot lane.
Also takes the the Camille from Maha. I mean, it's a very high mechanically skilled type of champion, but really good with the Galio for engage. You know, Malphite is kind of simple, right? You just farm up, you go in, and you ult. Quinn now, he is hovering it. I was kind of memeing it before, but you never know here. Thinking about one of the two right now.
This would be lower damage profile, but it is a very reliable champion. We've seen it win against Camille, remember, many times. The famous counterpick that we saw Keen pull out for the Afrika Freaks was Sunfire Cape into Trinity Force. Malphite, the execution side's not really there. Basically, everything's targeted outside of his ultimate, and that one is a pretty fast channel time. Means there's not the most damage on the side of MVP, but damn, if they decide they're going in, you cannot change your mind. You guys are right in there.
And the draft that MVP did build around their first pick, Taliyah, well, I guess it was alongside the Galio, is just really fantastic for Yondu. He's been a guy for MVP outside of Pilot that has been carrying, right? ADD kind of taking a little backseat. Ian as well, playing the more defensive stuff. It's been Pilot and Yondu trying to carry this team, and Taliyah, when you have Galio and Malphite and Alistair to just keep people in place and make sure you can do your burst damage combo with the seismic shove, is a really fantastic composition to have around her. It also defends her really well against the Camille and Nocturne that's going to be trying to dive that backline.
Issue is that earlier, though, Valdez, they do have 3 losing pressure lanes before Malphite can get a couple of items. And that means that Taliyah is going to have to do some snowballing. Let's see if Yondu can be on the front foot and actually make his presence felt before Peanut hits level number 6, because for Kingzone, very strong laning phase in every role. Win lane, win game is possible for Kingzone, but if you, like you mentioned, a couple snowball kills come in, the teleports start rolling in for MVP, they can start piling in, and that could just be enough to set up a pretty big advantage in the mid game for MVP.
I'm glad you mentioned the TPs too. Definitely seems like a composition that can stack them up. Not sure if Motive will be taking the TP, but an easy triple TP for the side of MVP. Seems kind of obvious. We'll see what Kingzone wants to do in terms of that. Could definitely have the unsealed spellbook Tom Kench and have Gorilla trying to pick up their MVP for the match by making some map plays. But we'll have to wait and see, guys. The countdown has started. Let's jump into our first game. Kingzone versus MVP. Let's do it.
미니언 생성까지 30초 남았습니다.
There's always that one guy for MVP. He's not always here, but whenever he's here, he's very noticeable amongst all the other female voices that are screaming out for MVP.
Seeing Kingzone look for a late invade top side. We often see this ward come down just to be able to contest the scuttle spawn. I was watching EULCS last night. You just see a lot of teleport supports who look for a late invade and then just teleport back to bot lane after invading blue side to the enemy red. Not going to see that here. Motive, his cowbell, a little bit off. I don't think we're getting the same timbre.
He was trying to tease us a little bit there. Yeah. He's like, I'm going to hit it. I'm going to hit it.
He knows what we want. That's old Ezreal. Doing some dancing here. You guys will notice, if you're joining late, that Maha is playing top lane for MVP. To reiterate the statement that's been posted on MVP's Facebook and also on their Twitter, in Korean at least, as of the moment that we're speaking. Overnight, ADD has been rushed to hospital and diagnosed with pneumothorax, better known as collapsed lung, and thus he is actually still in the hospital right now, receiving emergency care. I was casting last year when I was casting Apex. There was a player who also suffered from collapsed lung and ended up being out for a long time, Valdez. So there's definitely no guarantee that he will be able to play this week, maybe even this season, when for MVP, who are just one spot above relegations, they're definitely going to have to come up with a way to make it work, because there's still plenty of series to be played in LCK Summer.
There definitely is, and this is really bad timing for MVP, right? ADD, I mentioned he's not necessarily the guy who's carrying the team on his back anymore, but he's definitely a really solid top laner. A lot better than Maha, I would expect. Now, we haven't seen Maha. I don't want to judge him just yet. Obviously, what we know about him right now is that he was basically the sub-80 carry behind Pilot. So, definitely we would expect ADD to be a lot better, basically, and we'll see what he can do. I'm excited to see new stuff, to see him try to actually go up against Khan and see if he can actually do it. So far, he's literally not fighting Khan. He's just ignoring him, and this is basically what Malphite does, but it's kind of funny because I think that's what he should be doing for the majority of the series against Khan.
And then if you look at the job for Kingzone, certainly made easier with Maha having to off-roll on top, but they need to show something for their fans and for their title candidacy as two-time champions. Yondu is not spotted on a very long roam here. Pretty standard gank pathing and timing, but a big minion wave means that we have to watch the execution here by MVP.
They got to be real careful about this. Now, there is a ward behind them if they want to go for any really cheesy early teleport plays as well to come along with it. Should just be Yondu. You'll notice that he's waiting for the wave to be cleared out, and then he'll come behind. We'll see if Oda goes in. He catches Varus, but the Devour's there, and immediately the teleport comes in. Will be canceled.
Yeah, that one wasn't very good.
Ian, that's going to be a no for me, dog.
I thought that was Maha's teleport. I'm going to be honest. Maha not guilty.
The second I saw that, I'm like, oh no, this is the way the series is going to go. Really, Maha?
But no, that was Ian, who, you know, probably should have read the situation a bit better. Speaking of reading the situation, the lane spacing from Gorilla and Prey was really good. That's a good indication of them understanding that the gank path was there for the enemy. Where to stand is the Tahm Kench to be able to disengage. The cost is the teleport coming through from Khan and Ian, as Peanut just tries to clean up the topside scuttle when it respawns.
Yeah, Peanut, I mean, he saw the Talia down in the bottom side, so he knows, hey, I can just roam into his jungle, try to get ahead, maybe a camp or two. Takes his Krugs away. You notice that Yondu's doing the same. Another engage down here. Could try to get the stun on it, and Gorilla in a lot of trouble. First blood is the follow-up there. Didn't have a splash from earlier on, and they follow up for the kill.
No cleanse in this game either, so the overlapping CC's enough. First blood goes the way of MVP. Nicely done by them. Maha can go for a shot at any point. He's pushed up. He hasn't teleported back to lane. So feeling pretty good, all things considered. Nice play by MVP, and we thought the threat was done bot side after the earlier gank had been enacted, but Yondu sticks around trying to kill the Krugs. They get the stun onto Gorilla. There's no chance to do anything there, and the Ignite obviously wasn't going to change it. Nice play, MVP.
After playing and watching so much Talia, definitely a piece of advice is if you get a lane splash away and your side of the lane has a stun or some kind of lockdown, it's basically the easiest gank ever. As long as you don't get counter ganked, or especially if they don't see it coming, because Yondu was sticking down there for way too long, a lot longer than Gorilla expected, obviously. So you get the stun onto the Tahm Kench with no flash before he's gotten the items. It's the easiest kill ever.
And items is a really important thing for you to mention, Valdez, because with MVP, there is certainly the issue that at some point they run out of damage. I think that's the reality. Talia, we already saw Yondu struggle on his last Talia game, where he wasn't able to do much against Nocturne and Shen, against Jin Air last time out. That was where he had to go for a very early Zhonya's and was a bit of a non-factor. The damage runs out, but if you get early kills and Ezreal has 2 items early, the Galio and the Talia get going as Yondu forces out the spell shield from Peanut. A snowballed MVP can be deadly in the mid-game, so any gold to get them to the mid-game earlier is really important for MVP.
That's very true. We always got to look up at the top side as it is Maha versus Khan, and with this big wave, Maha will be able to catch up just a little bit. as is to be expected in the top lane of Camille versus Malphite early, that the Malphite will be behind. Maha not doing too bad of a job early on in the game.
Matchup only gets better for the side of the Malphite as well. And even though Camille's a lane bully, because she's a melee lane bully, she's not going to get turret damage onto the Malphite with his attack speed slows and decent base damage. So good matchup. Again, Keen debuted this for the Afrika Freaks and was able to do really well going Sunfire, Cape, Trinity Force. I believe we've seen Maha play the Malphite, sorry, ADD I should say, play the Malphite earlier this season. MVP played it, and that was full tank. So
yeah,
there is the chance it will just be full tank, and with Maha filling in for ADD, I imagine it's just going to be about keeping it simple, and Malphite definitely fits into that mantra.
You notice that with the lane pushing down here to the side of Kingzone, they were looking for a gank onto Motive, who doesn't have his flash and he's not level 6. Could have happened, but Peanut decides to back away. They know they're going up against Galio. Galio's missing in the mid lane, going for the blue buff. He was nearby, so they decide maybe better luck next time. We'll see where that Nocturne decides to go. Certainly the Galio pickup in the first round on the red side was really good for MVP to try to shut down some of these Nocturne ganks.
I'm just excited for the first teleport gank from Maha, and I'm sure he is too. The Malphite teleport gank's pretty straightforward the moment he shows up. A lot of people will use the ult, the flash after the ult. Sorry, and then, okay, I've lost my train of thought. Basically, you flash ult because of the ability to cut down on the channel time and remove the opportunity for the enemy to be able to flash away.
This is going to be Galio coming in here.
Yeah, they're really setting up for a very aggressive fight. All right, we're just going.
No flash just yet onto the Tom Kents. They are going to knock him down with another knockup, but there it is. As I mentioned before, the easiest seismic shove if you're going to have someone locked down. They get another kill onto Yondu this time in the bottom side.
Definitely setting up around the reliable dives, and Gorilla just about gets his flash up and unable to use it there. See the mid lane here, BDD trying to cover for the bot side, but Ian is zoning. They're looking for some turret damage as well.
They're going to push that one in, but they're not going to push their luck, it seems. They know that Peanut coming on in, and Tom Kench will be nearby at that point. They're just going to take what they can get, you know, just get the kill and back off. Let's take another look at the replay.
You notice Gorilla's flash is not available until
like 3
now.
seconds.
That now is when the flash comes up as he's being Goomba stomped by the Galio. Nice pilot, and this is only involving one person. This is not Malphite also having to join to get a single kill on a soon-to-be Flash Tom Kench. So far so good for the side of MVP, and both kills, crucially, have gone to Yondu. And while we say there might be no damage potential for MVP later, this Talia is definitely ready to rock in the early game.
The mid game for her is going to be just disgusting. If you're Kingzone, you're going to be going up against a Talia that's going to be bursting you down. Everybody's seen the Talia that gets super far ahead, super fed. Going to be in a lot of trouble here, though. We don't have that heroic entrance. Nice move with the blasting plant before Khan could commit to the fight. And he will get away with his life after burning his flash.
He was trying to wait for Yondu to flash and then just ult after him, but wasn't able to make the play happen. Should have been a kill, I think, for Khan. Seems like he was hesitant or wanted to hold on to his summoners or his ultimate. Shouldn't have done that, and thus doesn't pick up the kill.
Would tend to agree. I think he definitely could have picked that one up. Even had his own flash if he wanted to super commit, but with Maha collapsing, he just decides to take the value and then just back away. Misses out on that. Taking a look at the mid lane, generally the Galio does eventually catch up, especially after building some magic resistant health. He's not quite there just yet, only has the Ruby Crystal in terms of defensive items, so will fall behind. Yondu's down here again. This time he's unscouted, and they've got to be really careful. That's definitely a bush that we've seen the bot lane face check many times before.
Lower percentage gank timing, though. The summoners are finally back up onto Gorilla, and Prey hadn't had to use his. Also, his and the Galio's ultimate were on cooldown, so just a bit of a roam down. It gets some control ward, it gets them some control, but no more than that. Pilot and Motive having a very happy time on the top side, and like we mentioned, difficult for Khan, despite having lane control, to actually get turret damage. All they've managed to do is buy Peanut plenty of time to farm, but the winning lanes in the early game have not bequeathed anything to the side of Kingzone, barring a bit of CS in the lanes.
Yeah, they're going to be winning top side. They will be winning the mid lane as well. Galio gets the 1 assist, but he's very far behind in terms of the Zoe Galio matchup in the CS. Bottom side, very even. The Nocturne slightly ahead in CS, although Talia has a couple of kills. But still, Kingzone about 1,000 gold ahead here to start off. It's kind of what we expected. Gonna be curious to see how they pick apart this very strong team fighting composition from MVP in the mid lane. Mid-game, I should say.
Yeah, the mid-game is definitely where the game will be won or lost. If MVP can get some kills, if they can get their items early, if Trinity Force and Miramana is done for the Ezreal, there'll be that window where, with reliable engage, they should do fantastically well, Valdez. But if Kingzone are able to split them away from that, if they're never able to use their tools together at that 20 to 30 minute mark, I think Kingzone will be comfortable victors this game as, well, Peanut, he's been doing a lot of watching this game.
He literally hasn't hit anyone on the Rift. He never went mid, bot, top. He never even got one auto attack off. And they're going to be thanking their lucky stars that it's only going to be an Ocean Drake early. Now, Peanut has gotten the other objective, which is the Rift Herald. This should be an easy kill. First blood turret in the mid lane, no doubt, for Kingzone.
With the vision put down earlier, the Camille will be able to contest the red buff. You'll notice there's a big farm lead. So while there is the sad stat of doing no champion damage, it is the better part of 5.5 camps advantage for the Nocturne over Yondu. Yondu has the 2 kills. They're probably pretty equal in terms of gold. But there is map control going the way of Kingzone. Their winning lanes now have been turned into a mid lane outer turret, and thus more predictability when the Galio is looking to roam. And if it's only set-piece plays from MVP, if the summoners are up for Kingzone, it shouldn't be that reliable a start on their wombo engage.
BDD going aggressive here, but all of a sudden, Yondu is going to show up. Try to defend against this. BDD, he's really fast on the Zoe. He's been very oppressive in that mid lane so far. Maha doing exactly what I told him to. Just do not fight the Camille.
Don't know about the item build, though, Valdez. I think you need Sunfire Cape for any chance to have lane control. You need mana and also AoE damage in order to clear against the Camille, and you should be punishing her in that rather than letting her get, say, 1 or 2 autos per wave because she has pretty fast clear. So I'm not a big fan of going into what looks like the Randuins as the first item. I think you take the Sunfire for lane control, but we can't be too critical of Maha, given that he's filling in for ADD after his medical emergency.
And it's a dynamic queue, and it might be his first game on Malphite. He's like, well, I've never really played the top side, but I'll just play this very reliable engaged champion that falls behind in the lane, but I'll help out my team later. I'll just try not to die. It's definitely what it looks like for Maha.
Can you really have ganked someone if you've done 0 damage to champions? I asked SpoTV because they had 0 for 1.
I know. What, like, I guess, well, it was a failed gank because he didn't find the engage, right? He was there for the gank, but he didn't actually touch anyone.
My guess is he was within X units of somebody, 500 range of somebody, for example. I know Riot has stats about jungle proximity.
Yeah.
I imagine he was in proximity of an enemy, but it was just looking at them and missing a Duskbringer, I guess.
Or not even. Maybe not even casting it. It's kind of what it looks like. Peanut definitely playing the role of the solo queue jungler that's like, I hope my lanes just don't feed, and I'll farm, I'll get all the objectives, and I'll be good in the mid lane, or the mid game. I keep saying that. Mid game will be strong for our Nocturne, who does have a lot of farm.
Do you have any... It's going to sound weird if you don't, but...
Okay.
In Australia, we have touch rugby, which is where you don't do tackling, you just do the touch just because you don't want to get any contact. Do you have any analogies to that?
I'm going to have to cut you off as Peanut in a lot of trouble here is forced to burn his flash, but here comes the Talia, who's just going to get blown up. Yondu, not sure about that one. BDD stomps him down. Two-shot barrage is so close. That may have even hit him, but the stopwatch was on point as Peanut going to use his flash and the stopwatch, but still the trade goes the way of Kingzone.
Damn, Motive decided the action was going to turn on, but it was turned against MVP as Zoe was able to find a Ludens and burst down the Talia to the Netherrealm. Speaking of the Zoe, he's he's definitely ready to go. BDD's had enough of the farming phase.
Looks like Maha is also having enough of this, is finally beginning to get some damage down on the Khan, but it looks like this turret should be going down.
Yeah, he doesn't have Sunfire Cape, so he can't actually clear the minions fast enough to do decent damage, and despite being attack speed slowed, the Q is an auto reset, and Khan will still take down the turret probably about 3 or 4 minutes earlier than he should have.
They are going to get his flash here. There was no hook shot onto Khan as he had just used it, but here comes the follow-up engage, the Nocturne straight on top of Talia, but the TP's coming in with the stopwatch. Khan is so low, the flash comes in, and he is going to get the kill onto Khan. MVP is going to turn this one around.
Ezreal's teleporting behind Peanut.
Okay, Pilot looking for the 1v1 on top of Peanut here. Remember, he doesn't have his flash, but there's the Zoe damage. No Arcane Shift is in. They're trying to zone him as Ian, but the flash comes in out of Pilot. Does have that Ignite on top of him, but will survive in the end.
But they use so many resources here, MVP. Pilot leaves up, packs up and leaves bot lane. The Prey was able to cancel his teleport and just stop pushing in the bot lane. And get a lot of damage down onto this turret. Prey is not gone for his build that he went last time. That was the Manamune Muramana completion into the Ginsu Rage Blade. This is just play the Ruin King for a stronger laning phase. Going over the replay here, MVP eventually is able to turn this around, but they have to use so many members that Kingzone get more on the map.
It's a nice play overall. Like the follow-up engage there from Khan. Hits the hook shot max range, but it was just the unfortunate reality of Stompwatch and a teleporting Galio straight in your face.
But the Cull's been cashed in, the Trinity Force has been done for a while. Didn't have to rush into Titanic or Ravenous Hydra because Maha didn't have the wave clear build. Went for Randuin's full tank here from Maha, filling in for ADD in the top lane. So that means that Maha really has to make the team fights work. The problem with going for a build like this that offers you basically nothing in the 1v1 is that if your ult hits 3 people and your Randuin's slow, that's pretty sick. They're knocked up, they're slowed. Yeah. If it doesn't, if it's flashed away from, you have no fallback at all. You're basically an ultimate bot only, and the only role that can afford to be an ultimate bot only is support, and unfortunately Maha is in the top lane role.
So far, in terms of his mechanics on the Malphite, it's been quite good. See BDD, oh boy, Yondu, you're not the guy to block for Motive, by the way. Also, the wall is going to come in here. They really want to engage. Poor Peanut, man. Motive is going to get so low, but he's actually going to dodge it and get into the back line. Oh, but there's the 3-man Nakamaha. He's here to party tonight. He's going to get the huge knock-up in the back line, but BDD totally controlling this fight, trying to kill Yondu, and there he will. Prey and Gorilla are so low, and Maha's trying to carry his team by himself, but is going to go down in the end. Pilot extremely low, too, and Khan is also here to party. Will pick up a second kill on the back line.
Ends up being closer than Kingzone will like. They will still come out ahead. Big ultimate from Maha, but no one's a prophet of it. The ultimate from Yondu used too late after the Drake had already gone down. Kingzone will fall back and take down the outer bot lane turret as well. A bloody fight on both sides. Feels like MVP ummed and ahed for a really long time, and by the time they commit, the objectives are always like the way go the way of Kingzone. Weaver's Wall actually puts Peanut in a very frustrating spot. He ults, no way to disrupt him, of course. They go back in here, and because Pilot is hit by the Trouble Bubble, he's out of the fight so early that the Wombo engage is just Galio as a damage dealer. Ian does everything right. He even holds onto the taunt and gets Prey as he comes out of the belly of the Tahm Kench, but they don't have the damage to back up the engage.
BDD and Khan just ravaging the team fight later on. Prey also did survive until the end, and I like the way you put it, just umming and ahhing, just saying, do we go in here? Not sure, it's an Infernal Drake, it's really important, but then just eating a couple paddle stars to the face and then engaging and being out of position to peel for the Nocturne was not ideal. A 2-for-4 in the trade was also not ideal. Kingzone very far ahead in this game now, especially after picking up that Infernal Drake for their super fed Zoe in the mid lane.
And we go back to our draft predictions about where this game will go. MVP needed to hit the early game running. They haven't been able to do that. They're now 5,000 gold behind a comp that outscales them in multiple ways. Khan will be pretty unanswerable in the side lane because Maha can't actually hold him in place. That means whether they're going for a 4-1, whether they're engaging BDD as this orbital strike Zoe. Seems like in most every way, Kingzone will be able to win this game, barring the no-flash members of Kingzone opting into the Malphite Galio engage.
See a couple of members on the side of MVP now looking for their Zonias as a follow-up here. Second item for both the Galio and the Talia. Definitely going to be really important when you have that backline dive with the Camille and the Nocturne getting on in there. Yondu trying to make this work with the Talia on top of Khan, as Khan does have his flash, but at least for now, Yondu is not seen. It looks like Khan has read into this very well.
And Maha, bless his heart, building for team fights now with the magic resist. He sees the Zoe, he wants to build defensive stats against the Zoe. Does mean he loses this 1v1 harder, but Yondu turning into a 2v1.
Not able to combo into the seismic shove, still taking a lot of damage, but look at this Talia getting so low, is actually gonna wall the hell out of there and will get to safety. The kill does go over to Maha.
They use a lot of members, but they get the kill, and right now Kingzone aren't in a position to punish them. They're not moving over to the Baron. If they started Baron, there would have been a big collapse there and a big potential to punish. But just a free kill in the end for the side of MVP.
Meanwhile, Peanut, he used his ultimate, but he couldn't actually latch onto anyone. But now, Maha, you're in a lot of trouble, buddy. You have 3 members coming behind you here. Let's see what MVP can do on the backside. Probably not all that much. Maha is dead meat. See that the rest of MVP is moving out to at least clean up some vision in the top side.
A lot of vision to clean up as well. We're going to watch the replay. Khan doesn't have Ravenous Hydra at this point in the game, so they do a lot of damage to him. He tries to take down Yondu, of course, is eminently squishy, gets close, isn't able to take him out. Somehow, the in the battle ultimate there. You don't see that too often with the Weave as well. That's an advanced
He dodged in between
technique.
the sweeper when Khan was actually coming back, so he didn't take damage and he actually got out of range. It was really cute, actually, out of Yondu.
A 5 out of 5 for the in-combat use of the Weaver's Wall, but otherwise, Kingzone roll back. They take down the inner turret as well. Gold lead still around 5,500. Like we mentioned, Maha building just as much resist as he can. Really has to find that teleport. Otherwise, yep, we're going to see more turrets roll down.
You see now that Motive, it's his job to try to put down some vision, like the ward there at the Baron, actually. Going to be unspotted by a control ward. Looks like BDD will sweep it out, but you got to get some wards behind them if you want to actually TP into a fight and get the fight going with your unstoppable force. But obviously MVP having a little bit of trouble with that, especially behind on the red side. BDD just a massive force for Kingzone right now. Not much you can do to stop him unless you do get the big time engage before he can cleanse, but even then, that's going to be hard.
There is a ward around the pit for MVP. I don't know if it's restricted, but if it's not, it's a great teleport ward.
Not restricted.
For
That's
Maha.
the one he put down before. Not spotted by the control ward.
Well, that could potentially be the start of a good news story for MVP. But right now, no teleport being channeled. Kingzone dotting their I's and crossing their T's around the Baron as Khan starts to push in the bot side. Titanic Hydra is the choice of Tiamat item from Khan. The Baron is that last objective for Kingzone here, but remember, in that series against Gen G, they had the Kindred game where they were just unable to pick up Baron, unable to increase the pace of the game. Let's see if they choose the right timings here, because Kingzone's timings, their fundamentals, were the big reason they were so consistent over the course of 2 back-to-back 18 best-of-3 LCK seasons. Those fundamentals looked lost last time we saw them. We're looking for them to return in this game, because this is going to be more about what we can learn about Kingzone than about where MVP is at, because of Maha subbing into the top side.
Don't really get to learn much about that. I wanted to touch on the point you mentioned before the game's even started about how it's super just high pressure right now for Kingzone. It's, even though it's MVP, even though it's Maha on the top side, really concerned looks on all the coaches. You know, this is something, especially in Korea, when you're a top-level team and you lose 2 games to teams, especially Jin Air, that you probably should not have lost. That you know the pressure is on from the organization, from the coaches, and that you absolutely are going to take MVP very, very seriously.
Oh, for sure. They have no latitude to do anything but that. There's no time to be fancy when you are in a 0-2 losing streak. In the past 2 series, they haven't won a game in the second round robin. They're 0-2 from the 9 matches you play in a round robin. And it's one of those scenarios where your fans are not going to be showering you in praise if you beat MVP 2-0 when they don't have their recognized top laner playing. So honestly, the only opinions which should be important to Kingzone after this game are the opinions of each other and of their teammates and of their coaching staff about how they played it out, because it's about Kingzone's game, not the team they're playing against on this match day.
So far, the Camille from Khan is looking quite nice. He's also having so much pressure down on the bottom side. You'll notice he even denies both of those inner jungle camps, the Wolves and the Grump, on the right side. Yondu getting a little bit angry. He wants another follow-up gank here, but he's got to be real careful because now, with the Sterix finished and Khan even stronger, he could just, 2-3 shot the Taliyah at this point.
He dropped the Titanic Hydra, just went into Sterix for a bit more team fight ability. Knows there's going to be bursts. One thing MVP will always do is some level of burst. Speaking of burst,
well, Motive decides hello, but isn't going to actually knock him up, and down he will go. As he just got way too low, no ultimate used, decided I'm probably going to stay alive. Bit of a rookie mistake there from the support player from MVP.
Wanted to twitch the ultimate, but by the end the damage is too big and he goes down. MVP lose some of that wombo engage, desperately trying to wave clear till that Alistair respawns.
And BDD has been so on point now with the huge damage follow-up from Prey. I mean, Varus, he's really good for the sustained damage, but especially against squishy targets, you can even follow up on the poke composition you do have in the form of yourself and the Zoe that's super fed. And there you have it. Even Pilot gonna get super low. BDD himself eating a bunch of damage on the back foot, but easily a one fight there from Kingzone. And
everyone was only thinking about disengaging on the side of Kingzone. They got the objective, no reason to overstay. Try to fight in enemy terrain. Kingzone back away. It's a very long map, Valdez. So this Baron that they still have not started is what we're looking at. And again, it's the thing about Kingzone we're unsure of, because their Baron indecision in their last match out was one of the big takeaways in that 2-0 loss to Genji.
And you mentioned before about dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And I feel like Kingzone especially have to do it here. I'll hold that point as Gorilla's going to come on in. It looked like a 2v2 was brewing here. They are going to back off. But we've seen, 2 or 3 games in recent times where the team that's behind, just all of a sudden they have a really good team fight composition. And even though they're down, 7,000, 8,000 gold, someone on the other side makes a mistake, somebody gets caught out, and then the follow-up from all that wombo combo from MVP. It's a late enough game, the death timers are long enough, and you have these really weak towers that you cannot afford to make any mistakes, especially after it gets around the 35-minute mark.
And with the tanks largely being evacuated out of top side, we've seen less tank play. Ornn, for example, is only a sometimes champion after being in basically every game in spring season. The end result, Valdez, in the last week or two for me at least, is that the Baron takes have been 50-50 at best, and often it's just been a kind of crapshoot as to who will get it. We haven't seen the clean Barons that we did at the start of the season, and it just feels like with Kindred coming into the meta and her inability to really be involved in some of the Baron plays, only offering Baron damage, taking Baron has become very perilous, and that means that teams like Kingzone have tried to be very defensive around those objectives, and it's dragged these games longer and longer.
I mean, you see a lot of compositions that are like Swain, Galio, and some tank on the top side, or some other kind of bruiser type that doesn't have the best Baron damage, and it's like, well, we're 10,000 gold ahead, but we cannot take the objective, so this is kind of awkward. Kind of umming and eyeing and not sure about how to end the game. Now, the side of Kingzone, they have this Zoe that's just unbelievably fed. So just doing stuff like this definitely opens doors for your comp to take the Baron.
But the 4-1 we talked about is, of course, online with Ravenous Hydra and Sterix done by the Camille. Camille pushes up. 2 or 3 people disengage her way. Everyone has teleport, so of course MVP can run at them. But Kingzone can use that time to push up and clear vision. However, if this is the extent of what Kingzone get, then that can just be repeated again and again. And until the teleport nerfs come through, this is just a play pattern that again has opted into the stall meta we've seen between about 30 and 40 minutes where teams can't take Baron, can't actually break the base, and it's a bit frustrating to watch.
Well, MVP looking for the engage, but they're actually in a lot of trouble here. Look at that back line. Pilot just going to disappear, and see you later. Any DPS that you had. Now Ian's going to be in a ton of trouble here. 5-on-1. I wonder who wins this fight. That's going to be 2 kills to the side of Kingzone. Should be an objective for them, too.
That time, everything lined up. They got the kill instantly onto Ezreal. QSS, oh no, might have been completed afterwards. Didn't matter. He was dead. They turn onto the Baron. Nicely done by Kingzone. This time they problem solve it. They're more engaged in their comp. They get the Baron.
Making it look just so easy, and now they're trying to deny the Infernal Drake as well. Gonna come over here immediately with the Abyssal Voyage and take away their second Infernal. Looking like this one's in the bag for Kingzone as BDD says, hello, I have 3 items, and I am Zoe. So Yondu on the Talia and the Ezreal specifically. Both Pilot and Yondu just hoping and praying they can stay alive against one Paddle Star.
We've seen the Paddle Star one-shots in the LCK before, and we might be there on some of these squishy targets. Gonna watch the replay of how this Baron play happened. Pilot in the backline is on a ward in the middle of the lane. I thought Camille was gonna come in and kill him. Well, didn't need too much assistance from Camille. All the heavy lifting done by Zoe and Varus. And from there, we talked about how it was a 2-threat comp. Now it's a 0-threat comp as Yondu is zoned away and Ian dies in the middle.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, you're looking at 4-0 to Varus with GA. You're looking at Zoe that's 2-0 and 6. Just picked up a Phoenix Codex on top of everything else that she just had. And yeah, I could definitely see this game ending soon with BDD being the MVP. Totally trashed the mid lane. Thrashed Ian there. Really made it easy, look easy in the Zoe versus Galio lane matchup, and just been owning the team fights afterwards.
Can't disagree with you. I think BDD has definitely been the best performer on the side. Kingzone pushing through the mid lane. They got the Baron buff. They still have to be, to some degree, respectful of MVP's engage, but they have Guardian Angel. The stasis still available for BDD. They are pretty slippery, and the Baron buff minions can do the work as well.
Yeah, this is the full court press, the ever famous one. Motive dies actually in the end there to BDD, helping out with the redemption. There goes Peanut. He says, hey, take my GA with you. They just want to end this game real quick. We'll see if anyone else goes down. Looks like Gorilla will in the end, but Khan's revenge in the backside, trying to take everyone out. Ian is gonna hero's exit off of this game. He doesn't want to be in this one anymore, as BDD is still looking for more kills. Down goes the Ezreal, as Khan will take him out. Ian will live in the back, a coward, but it does not matter. 1-0 is the score for Kingzone.
And the result wasn't really in doubt when we saw the roster, but the execution is what we were going to look for from Kingzone. Gotta say, around the Baron, they had that inspired turn with the lane ward and the collapse that came in. Pilot goes down, so do the hopes of MVP. So when it comes to Baron buff setups, one of the things we could take away from this game number 1, Kingzone have improved there, and they need to show the fundamentals that can be applied to future opposition. They should go on to win this series 2-0. Maha did very admirably on the Malphite. I didn't personally like the build because he couldn't actually in the lane repel the Camille, and Camille got a bit too much of latitude in the laning phase, but admirable all things considered. Kingzone go into the break 1-0.
Definitely a very comfortable game for Kingzone. BDD looks like he just had a very appetizing and satisfying lunch, as he ate MVP for lunch here basically on the Zoe. Now the Zoe was taken in the second round. It's fallen a bit as Nocturne and Talia make their way towards the top side as they're not banned anymore, but it's definitely very scary to leave that open to BDD when he can do stuff like that in future games here. But guys, we are going to go to a commercial break before we do go into game number 2 of Kingzone versus MVP. So we will be seeing you in just a moment here. Definitely hold on to your seats. Might be a little bit more before we do get to that break. Looks like we're ready for it now. Game 2 in just 12 minutes. We'll be right back, guys.